We know how much you all love the uber cuteness. So this is one of the 3 younger ones. And then we have just to the left and in front, the older one that's by itself is busy nursing on its mum and having a little bit of a, what looks like a snooze as well as a nurse at the same time. You can just see it suckling there, its little mouth moving. I can imagine what it feels like to try and nurse something that has sharp little teeth like that. So let's rewind to the beginning with hyenas. These are spotted hyenas. Oh look, sorry. I love hyenas. I think they're absolutely fantastic, and I think they're super, super cute, as you heard me say earlier. So these are spotted hyenas. The other type of species in South Africa that we get would be a brown hyena. I believe up towards the Mara side you start seeing striped hyena. I've never seen a striped hyena. It is on my bucket list of things to see. So the social system for hyenas is a matriarchal system, meaning a female in charge, and it's just pretty much females in general. The males are sort of booted away and go off on their own. And it's interesting, now that I'm saying that and I'm starting to precursor into the fact that the males aren't even allowed around the den, I've actually never seen mating hyenas. And I cannot, right now, for the life of me, think of any scenario where I've heard another guide friend of mine having seen mating hyenas. It's just an interesting thought. I think it's something we will all have to check up on today. I'll definitely do so when I am home in my warm room later this morning. Now, this little hyena, we had some talk the last time that we were here about the 2 young hyenas, one you're seeing on the screen here. Popped in the other day. I only saw this one. I haven't seen the second one. There was worry about sort of their condition and what's happening with them. My suspicion, my sneaky suspicion, is the one that we were talking about the other day, is that this female has probably been picking on her brother, and that caused a lot of stress with his with the way that his body was functioning, and so I have a feeling that he's no longer around, but I'm not confirming that now. I'm just saying it's just because I haven't seen the 2 of them together since then. Now, this chap, on the other hand, is doing very well and is surviving a little bit better. I'm derelict to say that the 2 younger ones are not going to thrive. I do think the female will do well. I've seen hyenas bounce back as well, so if we do see that male cub, I don't think that there's a non-possibility that he'll bounce back. I just think that it's going to be a little bit harder for him. So it's just something we're going to have to keep monitoring and keep our eye on and see what happens. Now, as you know, this one that's nursing is much older than the other one we were seeing at the mouth of the den site. Roughly, as far as I know, about 3 months older. So roughly about 6 months-ish, maybe a little bit less. And with this one being the only one, they usually give birth to about 2 or 3, sometimes a couple more, but it's usually about 2 or 3. So with this one being the only one that we're seeing around, it's most likely the only survivor from its litter as well. And it's not an abnormal thing amongst hyenas. It's not an abnormal thing amongst many predators. Predators tend to have a few extra little ones just because it's hard to the survival rate is low amongst the litter with predators. Shame this one is cold and tired and snuggled up there at the mouth. That inside of where that one is, that's going to be a little bit warmer than out here. Milty, you're wondering, are hyenas nocturnal? So basically, yes and no. Predators move when it's cooler and are active when it's cooler. I've seen hyena active all through the night, and I've also seen them active during the day. There's a big warthog coming through the back. I don't know if you see there, Vildy. We might just catch a glimpse. There he runs. Now he's stopping. Nope, it's too much for him. Um, I've seen hyenas trying to share a den with warthogs before and eventually just chasing the warthogs off. The warthogs also enjoy the same sort of holes inside the den as these hyenas do, and the warthogs will live in there through the night. So, look, predators move when it's cooler. So if it's, especially like wintertime, if it's cooler, they'll move throughout the day as well as at night. But they're not strictly nocturnal hyenas, neither are leopard nor lion. Oh, that's beautiful. They are just opportunistic and quite good at figuring out when the best times to be out and about to obtain food and to mark territory are. And so because it is very hot in South Africa or in sub-Saharan Africa in general, that's when the tendency tends to be moving more when it is dark, and thus the expectation that they are purely nocturnal, even though they are not. It's an interesting one. Something that I like to remind people about, and remind myself, or remind any students that I train, or just sort of anyone that's interested about the bush, is that the animals don't read the books, and we as humans do the best we can to annotate and box up so that it's easier to understand. But basically all of those sort of assumptions you must take with a big grain of salt and then work off of it. And it's easier for me because I'm out here every single day, and so experience plays into it quite a lot. But yeah, for instance, we were talking the other day about leopards being solitary, and I've seen 3 leopards together. I've seen 5 leopards together. They don't have a pride system like lions by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, there's a larger gray area around predatory behavior, and for something like hyenas, I wouldn't say misunderstood, but I think a lot of the research and experience that's gone into it hasn't necessarily permeated into the greater culture surrounding the ideas and thoughts behind them. Thanks for the question, Ralph. There's a fork-tailed drongo that was calling in the background. I'm sure you all could hear it. It was mimicking something. It sounded a little bit robotic, and I can't pinpoint exactly which bird he was mimicking, but there's definitely a mimic going on there. All right, very, very round ears to help cup the sound. Earlier in the show, Jamie was saying how she can mimic the hyena calls, and I was saying how I'm very poor at mimicking hyena calls. But when they do make the call, they place their mouth close to the ground to help magnify the sound off the ground, and those cupped-shaped ears help then collect the sound and help funnel it back in. They are very good listeners. They have extremely good hearing as well as good eyesight, and then their sense of smell is very good as well. I've mentioned before, but I'll mention it again for all of our new viewers out there. A very dear friend of mine once told me that he had learned that hyenas can smell blood up to about 9 kilometers, which has never left my brain. I've always remembered this little thought, this little piece of information. I haven't found it written down anywhere, but I trust his judgment quite a bit. And so that thought always intrigues me, is when, let's say, another predator or another clan of hyenas even makes a kill, and there's a hyena within that distance and they can smell that dead animal, they'll then put up a sort of come to me call for the rest of the hyenas that are out scavenging around. So although spotted hyenas live in clans, they don't always move in clans. They will often go out investigating on their own, and then once they've either found something to scavenge off of or possibly found a good hunting area, they will collect the rest and then move in that way. Walter, you're wondering how big they get in comparison to dogs. So this big female that is nursing this young here is about 65 kilograms, so that's about 140 pounds. If I am doing my math properly, which I never do, so something like that. The way that they stand height-wise, I had a Dalmatian Black Lab mix when I was a kid that was thin but quite tall, so I would put it about there. Sort of like a big Labrador. Let's go with that for now, until I can come up with a better answer for you. Great questions, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed the cuteness, and we will head back over to Ralph and see what he's up to.